Unlock your true potential with the Leadership Community, where we empower men to embrace self-awareness and authenticity. Introducing the Leadership Community, where we believe in helping men become the best version of themselves. It all starts with self-awareness, and we encourage men to take a step back, pause, and reflect on their thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Embrace their authenticity and break free from societal expectations. Here are just a few testimonies from individuals. Leadership helped me develop self-awareness and embrace my authentic self. And now I feel more confident and fulfilled. Question: are you ready to unlock your potential? If so, join the Leadership Community today.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome on into the Men of Vision podcast. I'm your boy, Dwayne Roberts. The Men of Vision podcast, our aim is to support Christian men to navigate life challenges, gain clarity and direction, so they can experience a happier, healthier, and more purposeful lifestyle. I want to say thank you for taking a vital step towards becoming the best version of you. On today's podcast, we're talking with Vance Cooper. Vance has his PhD in corporate leadership. He's a certified extreme execution coach. He's the co-founder of Access Purpose, a branding and marketing leadership development firm, where he conducts workshops, seminars, and training, all focused around visionary leadership and change management. He's also the co-founder of the AP Energy Lab, a sports entrepreneurship leadership program for the youth in Philadelphia. He also serves as an advisory board on the business of leadership and entrepreneurship department at the Community College in Philadelphia. Family, help me give a warm virtual welcome to my man, Vance Cooper. Well, good stuff. What's happening, buddy? How you doing, Vance? Or should I say Dr. Cooper?
I'm doing pretty. You can call me Vince. You can call me Dr. Cooper. Like I always tell people, I don't demand to be called Dr. Cooper, but I'm definitely not going to correct anybody because I did earn it. So
Yeah.
no, I appreciate that. But I'm
Definitely.
doing great. I'm blessed. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm blessed and happy to be here.
Man, we're glad to have you here on today's Men of Vision podcast. Dr. Cooper, man, listen, talk to us. I know a little bit about you, but please introduce yourself to the fellas, man.
So again, Dr. Vance Cooper. I have my PhD in corporate leadership, so that's my background. Co-founder of Access Purpose. I actually started that firm with a business partner, Kendrius Adams Johnson, a colleague that I went to college with. So we started that back in 2018, and it's been quite a journey. We've shifted, pivoted, changed the kind of the client base that we served over the course of time as we've grown. But I'm extremely proud of the work and the foundation that we've been able to lay. And one of the things that's really one of our main pride and joys is our AP Energy Lab, or the Access Purpose Energy Lab, which right now we're coming up on our third year running that program. But it's actually like a sports entrepreneurial leadership program that we're running in a school in the Philadelphia school district. And so that's something that just being able to really build up these young men and women, because we do have a couple girls that are participating in our program, but just really being able to build them up and just really help motivate them to never stop dreaming, because seems like somewhere along the lines, as kids, we're always dreaming. We have these huge imaginations, and then over the course of time, it seems like we lose touch of that. So what we're doing is we're really laying a foundation for them to never stop dreaming, also exposing them to entrepreneurship and from using sports as more of a dangling carrot to expose them to that. But sports is really kind of the last thing we're focused on. We're really just focused on really helping them understand just entrepreneurship, what it means to be a leader. And then also all of our participants are young athletes. So what we're doing is exposing them to different careers in sports that may not involve them actually playing on the field or on the court. because right now, like our most of our students are, we have students as young as third grade, and we have students as old as eighth grade right now in our program. And so, of course, at that age, everybody thinks that they're going to be a professional athlete, whether a professional football player, professional basketball player. And so what we're doing is early on exposing them to, we're showing them the percentages and the chances. We're not trying to shoot their dream, but we're just showing them the reality of the percentages and of the chances that they have in making it. But then also just helping them understand that even if they don't make it to be professionals, they still have an opportunity to be professionals within the industry that they love. So it's just been a real joy for us to be able to do that.
Man, I think that's phenomenal, man. And this place here of never stop dreaming. When you think about a dream, what was your childhood dream growing up?
So it's funny when I think about my childhood dream, I actually, looking back at middle school and high school, I actually wanted to be a medical doctor. So it's funny how when I was in high school, every summer I was exposing myself to different doctors. So I was like shadowing, I was invited to like go to different doctors of different specialties, doing observing different procedures. Like for example, I did like a shadowing with this GI doctor. He let me come in the room like I was with the patient's consent, of course, but I'm in the room while he's doing colonoscopies, seeing like cataract surgeries. Like I'm literally in the room, of course, with the patient consent again. But it's just amazing how I just love science so much. And I always thought that I was going to be a medical doctor. And then when I got to college, I think it was probably my sophomore year. I had class and I think it was an ecology class. And then I just had this epiphany where it's just was like, you know what, Vance? I'm just really not that interested in science like I thought I was. And it's like if I have to do this for the next 6, 7 or years or beyond that, it's like I just know I'm just not going to be able to do it. So I actually shifted, did a little soul searching, and then I ended up still. I had a internship, or really like a more of a temporary job that someone brought me on to be during one of my college breaks, one of my winter breaks, and it was down at the University of Penn in their emergency office in the ER office, helping them get ready for their Joint Commission inspection. And so I'm grateful. It was actually one of my friends, Craig. Rest in peace to my friend Craig. But that experience exposed me to healthcare administration, and it opened up the idea for me that I could still have a career in healthcare, but it didn't necessarily need to be like a doctor or a practitioner per se. So that actually jump started my interest in health administration. So I actually had my master's in health administration. Got that from St. Joe's University. So for the past 10 years, I've had different roles in healthcare. So really, it's been in skilled nursing, and then also I actually, in addition to me running my business, I actually still do work in healthcare. So I actually work on a inpatient mental health unit doing admissions and business development, believe it or not. So I'm using my leadership skills here as well, in addition to my seminars and that I run for clients, and then also in addition to running my program with our students. So got a lot, got a lot going on.
Come on, my man, just using all the gifts at every angle. You know, I love it. I really love it. I'd like to know is how would you define a dream?
Yeah. So a dream for me, I would say, is really something that's in your imagination and something that you imagine that you want to bring into fruition. That's more so what a dream is for me. I think that all dreams or all visions, like as we say, kind of starts with that dream. So it's like, what is that? What is it that you see in your head that you may not see with your eyes? So I think that that's really what a dream is to me.
And the power of dreaming. You're working with these youth, encouraging them to dream, but not only dream, but to go beyond the dream. Because, like you said, a lot of times we can have those big aspirations to go pro, and we may miss it, and then to have something to fall back on. I'm curious to know this lane when it came. You said you always wanted to be an MD. But when I saw that you had your doctoral degree, I immediately thought it was in the medical field, right? So how did that dream come about? And yeah, how did that dream come about?
So it's funny that you asked that. In terms of how I ended up going into actually pursuing my doctorate in corporate leadership, it started off with me actually exploring doctoral programs in public health. So me being in healthcare, I just kind of felt like that was just the thing I should do in terms of just sticking in line with healthcare. I knew I wanted to pursue something beyond the master's degree just because I knew that I felt like there was more for me to learn, and then also just more training for me to be able to put me in a better position to be able to serve others. And so the public health program that I actually applied to, I didn't get into it when I first applied, and I was a little bit discouraged about it, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise because one of my mentors, he would have these doctoral symposiums where he would basically have form a collective of people who were either really, these are all black individuals, individuals of minority individuals who either were interested in pursuing doctoral programs, in the middle of pursuing one, or who had already completed one. So I went to actually one of those symposiums, and then he actually had some speakers who were talking about being in a corporate leadership program. And so I never even, up until that point, I had never even considered leadership as a discipline that where you could get a PhD in it. So after talking to them, did some research on different programs. That's what actually got me interested in focusing on leadership as a discipline. And the reason I decided to focus on leadership was because when you really, even though it is more of a broad study where it's not really that specific, but I like the broadness of it because when you really think about it, leadership is in every aspect of our lives, whether it be in the corporate realm or whether it be our personal lives. And so what I really wanted to do was just learn a lot more about leadership, just leadership as far as what people were writing, um, thought leadership, and then just different perspectives around leadership. So that is actually what motivated me to study leadership in the first place. And then just really, as I went through the program, it was really rigorous, but I've always been I mean, for me, it's kind of like I feel like I've always been told that I've been a good writer, but researching and writing is very much something that I'm very interested in doing. So it was almost like it was, and everything kind of had fallen into alignment, and then also just me. So I'm hired grounds crew. So I was also in the middle of when I started that program, it's like I was a grounds crew, but I didn't really know that I was a grounds crew, if that's making sense, because I didn't have the power of that assessment at the time I first started. So it's just interesting how just kind of going through the program, then at the same time I'm going through the program, that's when I really started that self-assessment process as well. And then really it was just like the two just kind of were, they just kind of married and tied into each other as I was going along and matriculating as a student, and then eventually as a candidate working on through my dissertation and completing the program.
That's good. There's an element of self-awareness there. You say you was a grounds crew. For those people who don't know what you mean by grounds crew, kind of give them a brief synopsis of what a grounds crew behavior style would look like.
So grounds crew are the people who are really, these we as grounds crew or the S's on the disc we really kind of like to. I've always been a person who has been kind of straight away from the light. I really don't like a lot of attention being on myself. I'm very much a background person, but I've always been a great listener, a very supportive person, very much structured individual, where I kind of like sticking to my routine, but very much ground school people are very much people who kind of try to stay in the background, but at the same time, they're very supportive in their role in the background.
Yeah, that's good. You know, some aspects of what I would thought is about you from your behavior profile might be a little analytical or air traffic controller. Is where do you rate on range in the air traffic controller?
Yeah, no, my air traffic controller is pretty high. Like it is pretty high. Where I'm a very analytical person. Like I'm a person who I have a tendency to be, this is really for clients and friends, but I have that tendency to be that voice of reason, quote unquote, where a lot of people, it's something that I used to kind of stray away from, asking myself, like, well, why is this, why do they feel comfortable coming to me with this information? But as I've grown and learned more about myself, I've learned to embrace that aspect about me where I feel like when people come to me for advice or for feedback on something, I'm able to analyze both perspectives and then kind of give you an unbiased opinion about a situation where and then I try not to tell, unless somebody's just doing something completely crazy and outrageous, I try not to tell people what to do, but at the same time I have a tendency of telling people what they might not want to hear but what they really need to hear. So I try to give you the information, and then based on our conversation, let you figure out what you need to do versus telling you what to do.
I love it. I love it. All right. So now I want to come back to Dream because I really like this. Actually, I'm doing a study on Dream. It's one of the talks I want to do for my clients here in the new future. Matter of fact, I got a workshop I'm planning out now. And this is really sits home for me. Having a dream, knowing what a dream is. But along the way with dreams, there's some reasons why dreams don't come to pass. You know, it can be discouragement, it can be disappointment, it can be we just settle for where we are. It can be lack of a confidence. It can be lack of imagination. I'm just curious to know between discouragement, disappointment, settling, lack of confidence, or imagination, what was something that almost derailed your dream?
Um, I would say, I would honestly say probably lack of confidence was more so. That's probably something that I really had to build up my confidence, because it's like I really, even though I don't think there was a point where I really didn't believe in myself, but I don't think, I feel like there was a point in my life where other people believed in my abilities more than I believed in my abilities. Like even like for example, I'm on a couple boards now, and one of the nonprofit boards I'm on now, I'm the president of the board, and I'm like when I became the president of the board, it was almost like probably I would say the old me a couple of years ago would have been like, "What do you mean be the president? Like, what? I'm not qualified to do that." But the new me now, the ability to be able to self-assess and see what I bring to the table, and then what I've done while I've been just a regular member on the board and not an officer, I understand that it's this one of the things I think I see about I really believe about leadership is that I don't make myself a leader. Like the people tell you if you're a leader. So if the people kind of have elevated you and they believe in you because of your character, because of your your attitude and what you're bringing to the table, the people will let you know that you're prepared to lead. And so that's one thing that I've really truly learned to embrace is just when I'm able to serve others and bring what I bring to the table, people in turn, as a result of the value that I'm bringing, they really make me the leader. So that's something that I've really grown to embrace. So I would say that definitely that I didn't have the confidence that I had now a couple of years ago. And like I said, it was really just me self-assessing and then just conversations with people as I kind of elevated in my career. Uh, that's really what has helped me raise my confidence to um, know that when I'm in rooms that I deserve to be there, and I don't have that kind of those limiting beliefs that I had in the past, where in order those feelings that I might not belong in certain rooms.
Leadership is not about you putting yourself in position, but because you know the value or worth that you bring, that people recognize that value. It reminds me of John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, and where
Hmm.
you fall on that. I think sometimes, particularly when I'm going here with men, sometimes men, we think that we just automatically should be the head of our home. Well, biblically, yeah, maybe, but I think that leading from within your home environment, or leading at all, is by understanding where you're positioned in the leadership. In there, because some leaders lead from the middle, some leaders lead from the rear, and then there's those leaders that lead from the front. You sound like you that type of leader that walks with individuals.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, like one of the things I'm a quote Miles Monroe, the late great Miles Monroe, his definition of leadership. And it's funny because I always joke with people how I did. So I was in my program about 5.5 years before I finished my PhD, and I always laugh that I learned more about leadership from him than I learned in my PhD program. And one of his definition of leadership is something that is so good that I had to memorize it. Is leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration, generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, birthed from a conviction, produced by a sense of purpose. And so once I heard him say that, because I listen to him all the time, like between him and John Maxwell, those are really like just even now that I've really kind of finished my program and I'm on my own I'm still doing research. I'm actually still writing as well. But those two are really the main people that are like kind of my go-tos in terms of how I like to shape my leadership. Because especially what I realized, which I didn't really realize at the time, was I think the main thing that attracts me to those two were because they come to at you for, with, to they come at you with, at leadership, and it's more from a biblical perspective. Like at least the foundation is from a biblical perspective. And then as I'm actually right now on a journey where I'm actually reading through the Bible for the first time, cover to cover, and I'm actually reading the Maxwell Leadership Bible. And so the way he has it in the Bible is he breaks down all the different leadership components, leadership successes, leadership failures throughout the different characters and different stories in the Bible. And when especially as I'm reading through that, I'm like, I don't even really need to read anything else as long as I have this good book here. That's all the leadership I really need. But nah, Dr. Monroe's definition is golden. I'll repeat it again just so somebody can get it. So it's leadership, it's a capacity to influence others through inspiration, generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, birthed from a conviction, produced by a sense of purpose. I think I messed up the first time, but that's the entire definition right there. And
Listen,
so anytime I'm doing leadership conferences or leadership like seminars, that is the definition I go by, because if you don't fall for, and it's a long definition, but if you don't cover every single one of those components, I can't really necessarily call you a leader, with all due respect.
wow. Oh, that's beautiful though. Man, I love Miles Monroe too. He is where I literally started this walk on leadership. And
I
then of course,
figured.
yeah. And of course, along the way, I found John Maxwell and that John Maxwell Leadership Bible, Beast Mode. I literally I want to validate because you said it. Leadership is in every aspect of who and what we do, man. Um, I have 2 degrees, one in biblical studies and another one in organizational management for Christian leadership. I want to shift gears just a tad bit now because I know truth is I can talk on this topic all day, but I'm curious to know, throughout life, there's some hardships. There's some things that built resiliency within us. What's 1 or 2 things that you went through, life challenges that you've been through that really help you navigate where you are today?
No, so the big one I would say that always sticks out of my mind was and again this probably the first time I'm really talking about this publicly was when I was in the middle of my program. I had just finished up. I was really just getting ready to go into my last semester of coursework. And for those of you who are not that familiar with how doctoral programs go, many of them have a comprehensive exam that'll basically essentially be the culmination of everything you study for it was 3 years. It's basically one test. It's a written exam. Like mine was, I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning and I left at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I had been writing the whole time, literally the whole time. No lunch, no break. It was maybe like a little short break to the bathroom. I was writing the whole time. And so while I was over the summer, I had actually, this was with my ex girlfriend. I actually had, we got engaged. I won't go into the long story about how we got engaged, but we ended up getting engaged. And what I'll say is that God works in mysterious ways because at the time I proposed, I really wasn't 100% positive that it was something that I should be doing. Just because of conversations that were had and things that I wasn't too sure about, conversations we really should have had, questions that I should have got answered. But my whole thing was, well, we got this nice trip planned to Greece. We're with friends, and I'm like, it's lit. I had already had it in my mind. This is what I'm going to propose. And even though I knew I shouldn't have did it, I did it anyway. And it ended up backfired in my face. And it didn't go, we ended up having to break up. But during that period, it was such a tough time because it had been a 5-year relationship that all of a sudden was ended. And we weren't even engaged. Like, we were not engaged that long. Like, it was like, I think maybe a month or so before we ended everything. And so that whole time, I was really, really struggling because I'm just trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do with myself? Why did this happen? I can't believe that, all these years down the drain. But the one thing that really kept me was, I think that comprehensive exam kind of saved my life because I knew that if I was like, there's no way you could do all this work for all these years and let this one situation take all this work you've done down the drain. So I got myself together. I was reading, went to therapy. Thank goodness I had to study for that exam because that really truly got me through. And what I would say is the blessing in disguise was during that period. So I had it in my mind. I'm like, well, we broke up. I'm single now. I'm just going to focus on me through the rest of this program at least. And God had other plans because don't you know, probably about 2 months later is when I met my current fiance. 2 months later. You can't even make this up. Like, it was like, I'm just starting to get dating, like just starting to really date and get out there. And then all of a sudden, this woman comes into my life who is really the best, literally the best thing that ever happened to me. And I was like, I think I was open and transparent with her. I just broke up and everything, so we were going slow, and I think she had a little bit uneasy. Like, I don't know if he might be still healing. And the truth is, I still was a little bit healing. Like, I still was, healing and everything. Because, like I said, it was 2 months. But I did know that over the time as we continued to date, I was just like, Vance, you got to get yourself together, because it's just like no way you can let this woman walk out of your life. And I just knew. So yeah, we got engaged right at the end of last year. So we're going to get married this year, actually. So
Come
that was the
on.
blessing in the side behind that.
I asked for a personal hardship. My man done gave me, she broke my heart, but don't worry about it. On that back end, though, it was sweeter.
No, it sure was. Yeah, it really was. Yeah. So God works in mysterious ways. So that was probably probably the biggest like the big hard shit that sticks out in my mind. And then I would say the second one is, so I finished my doctoral program in the spring of 2022. So graduated in May, had a nice graduation party in July. And so towards the end of 2022, I'm doing all this preparation for what my 2023 was going to look like. Have all these big plans for what I'm going to do in business and all these different seminars and things. Christmas Eve, I get a call from my mom that, like, my dad couldn't get out of the bed. Like, he had fell and couldn't get himself back up into the bed. She calls me, and like, she's like, we're not thinking much of it. We're like, I know he had a challenging week where he was saying he had back pain all week. So my brother and I come over, we're helping him get back in the bed. But what I will say is that was literally, at the time, I think I was 30, I was 36 at the time. That was the worst I had ever seen him. Like, I can honestly, that was the worst I'd ever seen him. And so we get him some food. He's sitting up, he's fine. We leave. We're like, are you all right? You want to go to the hospital or anything? He's like, no, I'm all right, fine. I leave, get a call an hour later. My mom said she got out of the shower, found him on the floor, unresponsive.
Oh, no.
So the whole time, of course, I stopped. I don't know what I was doing. I stopped what I was doing. I started going back to the house. And then the whole time I'm going back to the house, I'm literally in my mind, like, preparing myself, like, he, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do if he doesn't resuscitate? Like, if he's not resuscitated, like, what are you going to do? Like, I'm going through that scenario in my mind, but something told me to just stay calm and stay on the phone with my mom until I got back to the house, because I didn't even get to the part where she had only been home for a week after having an open heart surgery.
Your
So my mom, yeah, she had open heart surgery. She was in the hospital all day. Like, she had just got home, literally 1 week before. So long story short, he ended up passing. So that was actually the last day I had saw him alive. But this is Christmas Eve too. So we're just, like, it just was this numbing moment. Like, what am I going to do? It's like, not like, I always feel like I don't look at death as necessarily a bad thing, but I had just finished, and then also my brother, so my brother just graduated from his doctoral program this year, but my brother he was in the middle, so I know how excited my dad was. Like, one thing my dad what he was going through, so I'm named after my dad. So, like, so Reginald Vance Cooper. So one thing he was going to do is he was going to brag about his sons. And so I know he used to get on some people's nerves the way he used to brag about us sometimes. And so, just thinking about, like, last year was really a year of true reflection for me, where it's like, you wanna keep going, but at the same time, it's like, I knew I needed to slow down a little bit to be able to deal with that grief, because it's just like that grief really comes in waves. And so if you don't properly manage it and take care of it, it really can have an adverse effect on you. So it was really really tough just realizing that after all this work, like the only thing I really did was get to really just celebrate the accomplishment with him, but he never really got to see me as like Dr. Vance Cooper, like in terms of like being in action, developing programs. And so that was something that it was really tough being able to just really processing that and just really trying to figure out what was going to be next and how I was going to be able to push through. But God is good. He was able to. Luckily, I have a great support system. Listening to a lot of messages, but it just really made me lean in with my faith, and so that was really the best thing that came out of it. Because I've never really I don't really think I really strayed away from God. What I will say is that it really made me a lot more focused on in my faith in terms of just recognizing the good in everything, and also just recognizing I think it's Ecclesiastes 3 verse 2. Everything happens for us. It's a season for everything. Like it's a season for everything, and one thing I was truly able to. That was something that is one of those things where it was like you hear it, but probably like over the last year after he passed, that was when I was really able to like understand and embrace the true meaning of like there's the seasonal aspect of life where everything and everybody has a season and it will come to an end at some point. And so I just recognized that that was the end of his season. He lived a full life. And now it's all my brother and I's turn to be able to carry on that torch.
And gosh, thank you for sharing. I can only imagine how difficult that can be. That going through those experiences. So many men in life face curveballs, unexpectancies. It sounds to me he meant a lot. He was a mentor to you along the way. And maybe share me a fun childhood memory about Pop.
No, like I love like my dad. I love like I could talk about him for days. But probably I would say my proudest moments with him were a proud memory between us where he shared with us, myself and my brother. So we are all members of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. So my dad is an alpha, and then I remember him being there when I crossed over into the fraternity, and I just remember the big smile on his face where it was like my dad became my brother. Like so, I can remember that. That's a fun. That was just such a good day. And then my brother eventually, actually 10 years after I joined, my brother became a member of Alpha Phi Alpha too. So I could just probably one of my favorite pictures is the picture of us after my brother crossed. Just the three of us wearing our letters, just remembering how happy and how proud he was. Like it just was such a great time. I really, really loved that.
Now I'm curious. Did mom have a hard time with y'all stepping all throughout the house?
No, she was all right. No, she was all right. Mom was all right. Like she was proud of us too. Like she was proud of us too. But yeah, that was just such a like those years I was able to really spend. It's because it was different too because that was like when I crossed, that's when I was really becoming a young man as well. So just being able to share that bond with him, just like from boyhood to now as a man, where, obviously when, you talked about it on your podcast as well, where, as your relationship with your father. So my dad was always there, fortunately for me, blessed to have him always, where he never strayed from us. But that relationship changes as you once you're from a boy as you're becoming a young man, and those conversations were changing. So there were things that I know conversations I know that he would probably never have with me as like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old boy, where when I'm 22, 23 plus, we're able to have those open conversations just about what it's like being a man. And so those like I really those are probably, I cherish my childhood times, but I think that those years, like just from like I was able to share that bond with him as my dad and just that legacy as a brother as well. I think that those are some of my favorite times that I was able to share with my dad. Just like going to Founders Day events, brothers only events, and just how proud he was. It just was my dad was so proud of us that it was just like it's just something that it just brings a smile to my face thinking about it, because it's just really like he really was always there for us and was just always there to support us, even when we of course we were still teenagers at times, so we give him back talk and things like that. So he weathered that storm through those teenage years where we like Dr. Miles will say, we become temporarily insane during our teenage years. So he weathered the storm. I just see how he weathered the storm, and I don't think I was that bad, like out of the norm. But I know my brother definitely gave him a run for the money, and just seeing how he was able to just be able to just be. And my dad was a lot like me, where he was really calm, collective. But the one thing, probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from him, is just the responsibility of as a man. And so my dad always, he was one, if something was going wrong, he never was one to give an excuse. He was always one who was looking for a solution. And so that's something that I really, it's a fond memory. And I really take that. I don't take that responsibility lightly, especially since, like, actually, I mean, I'll add one more thing. Like, up in like right before this was like a couple months before he passed, I actually had mustered up the courage to have a conversation that everybody should have, but it was really an uncomfortable conversation where about what do we do if you're not here? Like I actually mustered up the courage. It was one day, I never forget it. I was just like, I have to have this conversation with him. I called him. I was like, are you busy? And it was like off the cuff too. It was like, are you busy? And I'm like, all right, just call me back when you're not busy. And then so I had the conversation with him, like, yo, like, what do we do if something were to happen to you? Like, where are all the documents? Like, where's the will? Is there any accounts I need to know about? Is there any passwords? And what am I supposed to do? And we had that conversation, and I think he was very funny about it. He was like, "What, you trying to kill me, y'all?" Like that was his first response when he said it. But afterwards, I think once he settled in and understood what I was trying to do, after we had that conversation, I just really feel like in my heart of hearts, I really believe that after having that conversation, he was like, you know what? I'm good. Like I'm at peace with where I am in terms of if something were to happen to me, I know that my boys are good, and I know that my wife is going to be in good hands with them being able to take care of her. So it's just amazing how life works, and so that's definitely something. Those years are definitely something that I cherish probably the most, even more so when I was an adolescent with my dad.
I love how you shared that at the end. I think that's so important because that's a piece that we leave out. We think they're gonna be around forever, and it really shows a level of emotional maturity in you. It gave Pop, if you don't mind me calling him Pop, uh,
Yeah.
that peace of mind, to know that you know what my young men, they got it. They're getting it. You know how important is it, one, for men to cherish the relationships with their kids, but most importantly, how important is it for us as men to do that check in, and get the needed information, um, for the unknown.
No, it's a great question. I think it's very important. So I'll say this with a disclaimer to the other men: I'm not a father, at least yet. but I have been father, and I do have friends that are father, and I'm a godfather. So I do understand that aspect of fatherhood and that aspect of manhood, and I think it's important that men realize that it's never, even for because I know you've talked about it on your show, and then I also have multiple friends who did not grow up with their father in the home. Like they did not grow up, and it's for various reasons. Whether for some of them it was just because he just straight up left. For some of them it's because maybe he was on drugs or incarcerated. But I know several of my friends who now into adulthood, even though they didn't have their fathers throughout their childhood, they now have relationships with their fathers as adults. And I think that that's important if you have not been in your child's life while they're growing up to try to develop that relationship with them when they are adults, because whether we realize it or not, that relationship what we have with our sons, whether it's intentional or unintentional, that has a way of subconsciously shaping their beliefs in the family structure. And so I think that it's noticeable for my friends who were able to, obviously they had tough conversations in the beginning, but they got to a place where they had great conversations and great relationships with their dads. But I see how that has helped them become better men and better fathers for their children, sons and daughters. So I think that it's very important for men to have that father figure in their lives. And then even if, for whatever reason you weren't there when whenever that child, while they were growing up or whatever it is, I think that even taking the initiative to mend that relationship, I think is very important. And then I can even speak to one of my friends' fathers who I've spoken to. I can remember him telling me, because I actually told him that I'm like, I know I know he recognizes that he wasn't there, but they have a relationship now. And one of the things I told his dad, and he appreciated me for saying it, was I noticed a difference in his behavior as a result of him having a relationship with you now. It's changed his behavior. It's helped him be a better father and a better partner with his kid, with the mother of his kids as well. And so I just think it's very, very important to realize that it's not too late. And then also in having that conversation, you need to be ready to, for the kid, maybe that your child's not ready to have that conversation. Or maybe if you're having that conversation, it won't be well received. But I think that at the end of the day, you have to forgive yourself before others are going to be able to forgive you. And so by you taking that initiative to genuinely try to repair that relationship, at least, God knows your heart. And at least if the child does not want to have a relationship with you, or they're not ready for that relationship, you at least can have that sense of peace within yourself where it's not something that's like burdening your heart or something that's weighing you down and just hurting the way you operate in life.
Man, Vance, thank you for sharing so honestly from the heart with transparency, with truth. And I'm sure the men appreciate it as well. Here, my friend, I want you to speak to the hearts of men. I know that vision, character, and attitude is important to you, my friend. Give us a little, talk to the hearts of men on that vision, character, and attitude.
Yeah, so like you said, whenever I'm talking to people about leadership, those are the three things that are really I keep those in mind at all times. So if you're going to be a leader, and this is for whether it's in your professional life or whether it's in your personal life, you have to have a vision. What is your vision for what your family looks like? What is your vision for your career? If you have a business or if you're running an organization, what is your vision for that organization? You have to have a vision, and vision is what your eyes can't see. So you have that has to be at the forefront of everything that you do. Next thing, you have to have good character. If people can't trust you, you're not going to be a qualified leader. Whenever people cannot trust you, there's going to be conflict within your leadership. It's just facts of life. People want to be led by people that they can trust. And your attitude, that's really your attitude. Uh, who is it? Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale always says that the difference between a leader and a follower is your attitude. And so that is something that is really going to, if you have a negative attitude about things, you're going to have negative results. It's really just the law of attraction, just the law of the universe. By you keeping a positive attitude, you're going to, even when things are going bad or when you find yourself in a bad situation, you're going to be able to lean on your attitude to recognize that bad stretch or that bad situation is just for a season, and all seasons are going to change. And so if you're going through a rough patch, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to come out of that. But your attitude is going to be a key component that helps you get through any hardship that you're going through. So just like I was discussing with going through the breakup, going through my the death of my dad, and just going through the grief. One thing I can say is that I never had a negative attitude. Even though it was something that bad that happened, I always recognized that even though I didn't know how long, I didn't know when, like I said, I didn't expect my current fiance to walk into my life 2 months later, but had that positive attitude, I believe that I was able to attract the results that I actually wanted to accomplish. So attitude is that's really probably that's probably one of the biggest things that is going to be able to kind of help you drive your leadership. That positive attitude. And don't get me wrong, it's people will test you. Those tough seasons will be hard, and it can be definitely hard keeping a positive attitude. But once you train yourself to be able to keep that positive attitude, you're going to be able to accomplish anything that you want to do, and that's professionally and personally.
Having a good attitude through it all, despite what the curveballs look like, the disappointments, the loss look like, having a good attitude. I love that. I think that that's so important. It just makes me think of a time I often have to have an attitude adjustment, because I get so down or I get so frustrated about it, right? But having that negative attitude still don't get you the results. So being rich with positivity, being optimistic and having the right attitude, I believe, like you said, goes a long way, my friend. I love it, man. One last time, brother, I want to say thank you for taking time and rocking with us on the Metavision podcast. I got something new here I have never done before. I got a 3-letter word here. I'm going to throw this 3-letter word out to you. I want you to shout out to me an acronym when you hear this word. You ready? The word is man.
Man, I'll say he's a tough one. I'll say, trying to think of an M word. Mature, attitude. I'll cheat a little bit. I'll say no nonsense.
I love it, man. No nonsense. I love it. Yeah, mature attitude and no nonsense, man. Just a little fun way to get men thinking, man. I think that men need to develop their emotional maturity. I think men need to strive to have the best attitude, and we need to move through life. Focus on our goals and dreams with a no nonsense look at things, man. So good, so good, so good. All right, man. This was real good. Listen, tell the people where they can find you, where they can learn how you do what you do. Maybe share your webpage, your social media platforms if you like.
Yeah, so I'll share. So our website, if you'd like to see what we're doing in terms of Access Purpose. So it's simply that. It's www.accesspurpose.com. Right now, we actually are in the middle of, so we've actually just recently established a foundation, which will, so it's going to be Access Purpose Foundation. So we're still working on our webpage and everything for that. But accesspurpose.com is our website. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Reginald Vance Cooper, PhD. That's my LinkedIn page. So I'd say I'm most active on LinkedIn in terms of social media at this point. But I do a little bit of Instagram. So on my Instagram is V as in Victor _ Access Purpose. So V _ Access Purpose. You can find me on social media. Feel free to reach out to me if you want me to come in. And I love speaking to different groups, whether it be I speak to adults, but I especially love coming in and speaking to students. So if you have any leadership development needs, please feel free to either reach out to me via my website or feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn.
Guys, fellas, listen, go find out what Vance is doing. Dr. Cooper, that is, on Instagram at V _ Access Purpose. Also, you can find him on LinkedIn at Reginald Vance Cooper Jr., PhD. Man, I'm so glad you took time to rock with us, man. This was definitely a treat. Realize this, fellas, you have everything you need to take your life to the next level. That's simply because your success is in your hands. I want to shout out Dr. Cooper one last time with Rocking with Dr. Cooper. That's what I'm going to title this one, brother. Fellas, enjoy your day, and we see you next time. God bless.